37 to get married and 38 to have a child. And it was worth the wait only in that I have grown to have patience and tolerance in my heart.
There are some documents that change everything. Not because they're loud, not because they're dramatic, but because they're real asterisk. Signed, filed, stamped by a court that doesn't traffic in rumors or gossip, only facts that can be proven, defended, or destroyed under oath. And when Marie Presley died in January 2023, the world thought the story was over. Another tragic chapter in the Presley saga. Another loss too heavy to carry. But grief has a way of pulling back curtains people spent years keeping closed. Because 6 months after her death, a lawsuit was filed. And buried in those pages, among the legalese, the financial records, the testimonies, was a name no one expected to see: John Travolta. Not as a mourner, not as a friend offering condolences from the sidelines, but as someone connected to decisions, to influence, to a web of relationships that may have shaped Marie's life in ways the public never understood. This isn't tabloid speculation. This is litigation. This is a legal claim made by people who say they have proof. And when you read what's actually in those documents, it stops feeling like gossip and starts feeling like betrayal. The lawsuit doesn't scream. It doesn't need to. It just lays out the facts, who was involved, what decisions were made, and who stood to benefit when Marie was at her most vulnerable. And somehow, John Travolta's name keeps appearing in the margins of a story the world thought it already knew. So what does the lawsuit actually claim? That's the question everyone's asking. And the answer isn't simple, because this isn't just about one person or one relationship. It's about power. It's about loyalty. It's about the people Marie trusted and what they did with that trust when she wasn't strong enough to fight back. You see, Marie spent her entire life surrounded by people who said they loved her. Family, friends, advisors, handlers. But when you're Elvis Presley's daughter, love gets complicated fast. Because people don't just see you asterisk, they see access. They see opportunity. They see a name that opens doors, a legacy that can be leveraged, a fortune that can be managed. And Marie knew that. She wasn't naive. She'd been burned before. She'd seen people smile to her face and scheme behind her back. She'd fought custody battles, financial disasters, addiction, and grief that would have crushed most people twice over. But here's the thing. Even when you know people might use you, you still need to trust asterisk someone. You still need friends. You still need advisors. You still need people who say, "I've got you," and mean it. John Travolta was one of those people. At least that's what everyone thought. For decades, he was painted as Marie's protector, a family friend, someone who understood what it was like to live under the weight of fame, to navigate Hollywood's darkness, to carry grief no one else could see. He spoke at her father's tribute. He was there at key moments in her life. And when she died, he posted heartfelt words about loss and love and how much she meant to him. The world believed it. Why wouldn't they? But this lawsuit is asking a different question. Not did John Travolta care about Marie, but did he protect her, or did he protect something else? And that's where everything shifts. Because according to the claims being made, there were decisions. Financial decisions, personal decisions, decisions that affected Marie's security and future. That happened with the knowledge, involvement, or influence of people in her inner circle. People she trusted. People who had access not just to her life, but to her resources. And Travolta's name, it's in there. Not as a villain in some Hollywood script, not as a cartoon character twisting a mustache, but as someone who may have known more than he let on. Someone who may have been part of a system, a circle of influence that didn't always have Marie's best interests at heart. The lawsuit alleges mismanagement. It alleges exploitation. It alleges that people close to Marie made choices that benefited them while she spiraled deeper into debt, desperation, and dependency. And if that's true, if even half of what's claimed in those pages is real, then the story of Marie Presley isn't just tragic, it's criminal. This isn't about attacking John Travolta for the sake of drama. This is about asking hard questions that should have been asked years ago. Because Marie didn't just die. She spent years struggling, publicly and privately, with forces she couldn't seem to escape. And the people who were supposed to help her, some of them may have been the very ones holding her down. The lawsuit doesn't accuse Travolta of theft. It doesn't say he stole money or forged documents, But what it asterisk does suggest is something more insidious, that he was part of a network, a system, a culture where loyalty to the organization asterisk, to the church, to the image, to the machine, came before loyalty to the person. And if you know anything about Scientology, you know that's not a far-fetched claim. It's the accusation that's been made 1,000 times by people who got out, woke up, and realized the friends they thought they had were actually enforcers of control. Lisa Marie left Scientology. Travolta didn't. And that alone creates a fracture, a divide where interests no longer align, where the person you thought was your ally might now be serving a different master. So when this lawsuit surfaced, naming names and following money trails, it wasn't just another legal filing. It was a reckoning, a moment where the world had to stop and ask who really had Lisa Marie's back and who was just playing the part. Because here's the truth, Lisa Marie Presley was surrounded by people who claimed to love her, but love doesn't drain your bank account. Love doesn't manipulate your choices. Love doesn't stay silent when you're drowning. And according to this lawsuit, some of the people closest to Lisa Marie, including John Travolta, may have done exactly that. But to understand how it got this far, you have to go back. Back to when Lisa Marie was just a girl trying to survive her father's legacy. Back to when Travolta first entered her life. Back to the moment when friendship, faith, and power collided in ways no one could have predicted. Because this story, it didn't start with a lawsuit. It started with trust. John Travolta wasn't just a Hollywood star in Lisa Marie's life. He was a constant, a presence, someone who showed up at the right moments, said the right things, and positioned himself as more than a friend, as asterisk family. And for a long time, that's exactly what everyone believed he was. He met Lisa Marie when she was young, vulnerable, and still reeling from the impossible weight of being Elvis Presley's daughter. She was trying to figure out who she was outside of that shadow, and Travolta, smooth, charming, successful, seemed like someone who understood. He'd been a teen idol. He knew what it was like to be worshipped and then discarded. He knew the cost of fame. But more than that, he was Scientology royalty, and so was she. That's the part people forget. Lisa Marie wasn't just Elvis's daughter. She was also one of Scientology's most prized members. Her mother, Priscilla, had brought her into the church when she was young, and for years, Lisa Marie was the golden child, the celebrity face, the proof that Scientology could attract and keep the biggest names in the world. And John Travolta, he was the church's poster boy, the believer, the devoted member who never wavered, never questioned, never left. He was everything Scientology wanted its members to be: loyal, public, and untouchable. So when Travolta took Lisa Marie under his wing, it wasn't just friendship, it was alignment. Two people bound by fame, by faith, and by an organization that had expectations for both of them. At first, it seemed harmless, sweet, even. Travolta would talk about Lisa Marie in interviews like she was his little sister. He'd show up at Graceland events, at tributes, at moments when the Presley name needed to be honored. He'd post pictures, share memories, speak fondly about her father and her family. To the outside world, he was the perfect friend, protective, caring, present. But here's the thing about presence. It can be comfort or it can be control. And when you're deeply embedded in an organization like Scientology, an organization known for monitoring, managing, and manipulating its members, your friendships aren't always just friendships. They're assignments. Because Scientology doesn't just let people drift, it keeps them close. It watches. It intervenes. And if you're someone like Lisa Marie Presley, someone with money, with influence, with a name that could either glorify or damage the church, you don't just get friends, you get asterisk handlers. And the lawsuit is now asking, was John Travolta one of them? It's not an accusation you can make lightly. Travolta has spent decades building a reputation as one of Hollywood's nice guys. The guy who dances at award shows, who mourns his wife publicly, who speaks about faith and family with tears in his eyes. He's beloved. Untouchable almost. But the lawsuit doesn't care about reputation. It cares about receipts. And according to the claims being made, there were moments, key moments, when Travolta had knowledge of decisions affecting Lisa Marie's finances, her well-being, and her future. Moments when he could have spoken up. Moments when he could have intervened. Moments when a real friend would have said, "This isn't right." But he didn't. And that's where the questions start piling up. Because Lisa Marie didn't just struggle financially. She was devastated financially. Despite inheriting her father's estate, despite Graceland, despite everything, she ended up millions of dollars in debt. How does that happen? How does someone with that much legacy, that much value, end up broke? The answer, according to those close to her, is simple: bad advice, bad management, and people who had more to gain from her dependence than from her independence. Lisa Marie trusted people. She had to. When you're that famous, that scrutinized, that vulnerable, you can't do it alone. You need lawyers, accountants, advisors, friends who understand the game. And Travolta was in that circle. Not as her accountant, no, but as someone with influence, someone whose voice mattered, someone who could have said, "Wait, are we sure this is best for Lisa Marie?" But apparently never did. And here's where Scientology comes back into the picture. Because in Scientology, loyalty to the church comes first. Always, before family, before friends, before your own instincts. If the church says someone is an enemy, they're an enemy. If the church says you need to cut ties, you cut ties. If the church says trust this person, you trust them, even if every alarm bell in your soul is ringing. Lisa Marie eventually woke up to that. She left Scientology in the early 2010s, and when she did, she didn't just walk away quietly. She criticized it. She spoke about the control, the manipulation, the way it infiltrates every part of your life until you can't tell who's your friend and who's your overseer. And when she left, something shifted. People who used to be close started pulling back. Relationships that seemed unshakable suddenly felt conditional. Because in Scientology, leaving isn't just a personal choice, it's betrayal. And people still inside are expected to distance themselves from those who have abandoned the faith. John Travolta never left. He's still there, still loyal, still defending the church in interviews, still showing up at events, still playing the role of devoted believer. So what happens when your closest friend stays in the system you escaped from? What happens when the person who's supposed to have your back is still answering to the organization you now call toxic? You become vulnerable, isolated, and the people still inside, the ones who know your finances, your fears, your weaknesses, they have power over you that you can't fully escape. That's the landscape Lisa Marie was navigating in her final years. And according to this lawsuit, Travolta wasn't just a bystander watching it happen. He was asterisk in it, part of the circle, part of the system. And whether he meant to hurt her or not, his silence, his loyalty to Scientology, and his failure to protect her may have done damage that can't be undone. Because here's what the lawsuit is really saying: John Travolta had access, he had influence, he had knowledge. And when Lisa Marie needed someone to stand up for her, to blow the whistle, to say this is wrong, he didn't. Maybe he thought he was helping. Maybe he thought staying quiet was the right move. Maybe he was caught between loyalty to a friend and loyalty to a church that doesn't tolerate divided allegiances. But intentions don't erase consequences. And the consequence, according to this legal filing, is that Lisa Marie Presley spent her final years surrounded by people who claimed to care, but acted like they had other priorities. So when Travolta posted his heartfelt goodbye after she died, people wanted to believe it was genuine. They wanted to believe he loved her, mourned her, wished things had been different. But the lawsuit is forcing a harder question. Did he love Lisa Marie? Or did he love the version of her that stayed obedient, stayed quiet, stayed useful? Because the woman who left Scientology, who spoke out, who fought back, she didn't get the same protection. And now the world is starting to ask, why not? Let's talk about what's actually in the documents. Because this isn't gossip, this isn't speculation. This is a lawsuit, filed, documented, and sitting in a courthouse right now with names, dates, and claims that can be proven or destroyed in court. But something quieter and more damaging, a system. A network of people who had access to Lisa Marie Presley's life, her finances, her decisions, and who may have used that access in ways that benefited them more than her. The lawsuit centers on financial mismanagement. That's the legal framework. But underneath that framework is a darker story about influence, control, and what happens when the people you trust most are serving interests you can't see. Here's what we know. Lisa Marie Presley inherited her father's estate when she turned 25. Graceland, the royalties, the name, the legacy. On paper, she should have been set for life. But by the time she died, she was drowning in debt. Reports say she owed tens of millions of dollars. Her finances were a disaster. And the question everyone kept asking was, how? How does someone with that much inherited wealth end up broke? The lawsuit claims it wasn't just bad luck. It was bad management, predatory management. People who were supposed to protect her assets instead made decisions that drained them. Investments that didn't make sense. Fees that ballooned out of control. Advisors who took more than they gave. And here's where it gets complicated. These weren't strangers. These were people Lisa Marie knew, people she trusted. People who were part of her inner circle, some of them for decades. John Travolta isn't named as a defendant in the lawsuit. Let's be clear about that. He's not being sued. He's not being accused of stealing money or forging documents. But his name does appear, and the way it appears matters. According to the claims, Travolta had knowledge of certain decisions. He was present during key moments. He was part of conversations. He knew people who were making financial moves on Lisa Marie's behalf, and in some cases, he may have even endorsed or encouraged those relationships. The lawsuit alleges that some of Lisa Marie's advisors had ties to Scientology, that their loyalty wasn't just to her, but to the church, and that when conflicts arose between what was best for Lisa Marie and what was best for the organization won. Now here's where you have to read carefully, because the lawsuit doesn't say, John Travolta stole from Lisa Marie Presley. It doesn't say that. What it does say is that he was part of a circle of influence, that he had relationships with people who are now being accused of mismanaging her money, that he had opportunities to intervene, to question, to protect, and didn't. And in legal terms, that matters, because influence isn't always illegal, but it can still be devastating. When you're advising someone, recommending people to them, vouching for their character, you're guiding their decisions. And if those decisions end up destroying them financially, emotionally, or both, the question becomes, did you know? And if you knew, why didn't you stop it? The lawsuit also digs into something more insidious: isolation. It claims that as Lisa Marie's financial situation worsened, certain people in her life worked to keep her dependent. They controlled access to information. They made her feel like she needed them, like she couldn't manage her own life without their help. And anyone who's studied Scientology knows that's textbook behavior. You don't just recruit people, you make them reliant. You create a system where leaving feels impossible because you've convinced them they can't survive outside of it. And if someone starts questioning, starts pulling away, you tighten the grip. Lisa Marie left Scientology, but did she ever really escape its influence? Because according to this lawsuit, even after she left the church, people connected to it still had access to her finances. They still had power over her decisions. They still had her ear. And some of those people were recommended to her, vouched for, or supported by none other than John Travolta. That's not a crime, but it's a betrayal. The lawsuit also raises questions about timing, about decisions that were made when Lisa Marie was at her most vulnerable, after divorces, after relapses, after grief. Moments when she wasn't in a position to fight back or question what was happening. Moments when someone should have been protecting her. But instead, the claim suggests people were positioning themselves, making moves, securing their own interests while Lisa Marie's world fell apart. There's a specific allegation in the documents about a financial advisor who had deep ties to Scientology. Someone who managed Lisa Marie's accounts, made investment decisions, and had signing authority on major transactions. And according to the lawsuit, this person was not acting in Lisa Marie's best interest. They were acting in someone else's. Whose? That's the question the case is trying to answer. But the lawsuit hints that the church itself had a vested interest in keeping Lisa Marie compliant, quiet, and financially dependent. Because a broke Lisa Marie is a controllable Lisa Marie. A desperate Lisa Marie doesn't have the resources to fight back, to hire her own lawyers, to investigate what's really going on. And when you're that vulnerable, the people who claim to be helping you can do the most damage. John Travolta's name keeps coming up not because he's accused of theft, but because he was present. He knew these people. He vouched for them. He was part of the culture that allowed this to happen. And when the system started eating Lisa Marie alive, he didn't sound the alarm. Maybe he didn't see it. Maybe he didn't realize how bad things had gotten. Or maybe, and this is what the lawsuit is quietly suggesting, he saw it and chose not to act because his loyalty was to something bigger than her. Something that demanded silence. Something that punishes whistleblowers and rewards those who stay in line. The lawsuit doesn't just ask, who took Lisa Marie's money? It asks, who let it happen? And according to those documents, John Travolta was close enough, connected enough, and informed enough that his silence feels less like ignorance and more like complicity. Now, none of this has been proven in court. Travolta hasn't responded publicly to these specific claims, and lawsuits can allege anything. What matters is what can be proven. But here's what can't be denied. Lisa Marie Presley spent her final years broken, and surrounded by people who claimed to care. And when she died, those same people showed up with eulogies and social media posts about how much they loved her. But love isn't measured in words. It's measured in action. And according to this lawsuit, when Lisa Marie needed someone to act, to protect her, to fight for her, to say, "This stops now," the people closest to her, including John Travolta, stayed silent. And that silence, it may have cost her everything. Lisa Marie Presley spent most of her life trying to be heard. Not as Elvis's daughter, not as Priscilla's child, not as a Scientologist or an ex-Scientologist or a celebrity or a tabloid headline, just as Asterisk herself. A woman with her own voice, her own pain, her own truth. But every time she tried to speak, someone else spoke louder. Her mother controlled the narrative for years. The church controlled her choices. The media controlled her image, and the people closest to her, the ones who were supposed to amplify her voice, often drowned it out with their own agendas. So she learned to stay quiet, to smile through the pain, to keep the family secrets locked away because airing them publicly would only make things worse. That's what she was taught. That's what was expected. Silence wasn't just a preference, it was survival. But in her final years, something shifted. Lisa Marie started talking, not loudly, not dramatically, but honestly. She gave interviews where she hinted at betrayals she couldn't fully name. She wrote essays about feeling used, manipulated, and alone despite being surrounded by people. She spoke about Scientology, not in vague terms, but with clarity and anger about what it had taken from her. She was trying to tell the world something. She was trying to say, "I wasn't protected, I was controlled." But even then, she couldn't say everything. Because when you've been inside a system like Scientology, leaving doesn't mean you're free. It means you're a target. It means the people still inside are watching, monitoring, and waiting for you to slip up so they can discredit you. It means your words will be twisted, your motives questioned, and your credibility destroyed if you dare to tell the full truth. So Lisa Marie hinted. She alluded. She said just enough to let people know she was hurting without giving them the ammunition to destroy her. And now she's gone. And the truth she couldn't tell? It's sitting in a lawsuit, documented in legal language, stripped of emotion but full of devastation. Because what that lawsuit is really saying is this. Lisa Marie Presley was surrounded by people who claimed to love her but treated her like an asset. She was managed, not supported. Advised, not protected. And the people making decisions on her behalf weren't asking, "What's best for Lisa Marie?" They were asking, "What's best for us?" That's the heartbreak at the center of all of this. Not that she was alone, she wasn't. She had people around her constantly. But she was isolated, surrounded by voices that weren't hers, guided by hands that weren't gentle. And some of those hands belonged to people she thought were friends. John Travolta was one of them. And whether he intended harm or not, his presence in her life, his influence, his connections, his silence, played a role in the system that failed her. Lisa Marie talked about trust in her later interviews. She talked about how hard it was to know who really cared and who was just playing a part. She talked about feeling like she'd spent her whole life being used, for her name, for her money, for her connection to her father. "I've been a target my whole life," she said once, and she wasn't being dramatic, she was being honest. Because when you're Elvis Presley's daughter, people don't see you, they see opportunity. And the people who get closest are often the ones who know how to make themselves seem indispensable. They offer help. They offer guidance. They offer friendship. And slowly, quietly, they take more than they give. That's what this lawsuit is exposing. Not a single villain, not one evil mastermind, but a network, a culture, a system built on loyalty to something other than the person at the center. And for Lisa Marie, that system was Scientology. Even after she left, its reach didn't end. The people trained by it, connected to it, loyal to it, they were still in her life, still advising her, still managing her, still making decisions that served interests she couldn't see. John Travolta never left Scientology. He's still one of its most prominent defenders. And that matters. Because when Lisa Marie was struggling, when she was trying to rebuild her life outside of the church's control, Travolta was still inside. Still loyal, still part of a culture that teaches members to prioritize the organization above all else. Could he have helped her? Could he have warned her about the people draining her finances? Could he have stepped in and said, "This isn't right"? Maybe, but he didn't, and the lawsuit is forcing people to ask why. Was it because he didn't know? Or because knowing would have required him to choose between his friend and his faith, and he chose his faith? That's the question Lisa Marie may have been too afraid to ask while she was alive. Because asking it meant facing the possibility that the people she trusted most had abandoned her when it mattered. But now, in death, that question is being asked for her. And the answer, whatever it turns out to be, bring her back. It won't undo the damage. It won't erase the years of financial devastation, emotional manipulation, and isolation she endured. But it will give her something she never fully had in life, a voice that can't be silenced. Because this lawsuit isn't just about money. It's about accountability. It's about forcing people to answer for their actions or their inaction. It's about making sure that the people who claim to love Lisa Marie Presley can't just post tributes and walk away clean. She deserved better. She deserved friends who protected her, not profited from her. She deserved advisors who put her first, not themselves. She deserved a life where trust didn't come with strings attached. And she deserved to tell her own story, fully, completely, without fear of retaliation. She didn't get that chance, but this lawsuit is doing it for her. It's pulling back the curtain on the people who surrounded her, the decisions that destroyed her, and the system that failed her at every turn. Lisa Marie Presley spent her life being controlled by other people's narratives. But now, finally, her truth is starting to speak. And it's saying what she couldn't, that the people closest to her, including John Travolta, may not have been the friends they pretended to be. That's not vengeance, that's not bitterness, that's just the truth. The truth Lisa Marie lived with, the truth she hinted at, the truth she died before she could fully tell. But now the truth is fighting back. And it's not going to stop until everyone who played a part in her pain is forced to answer for it. Because Lisa Marie Presley deserved better than silence, and her legacy deserves more than pretty eulogies from people who failed her. It deserves the truth, all of it, no matter how uncomfortable, no matter who it exposes. And that's exactly what this lawsuit is delivering. This story is far from over. The lawsuit is still unfolding, and more names, more claims, and more devastating truths are coming to light. If you believe Lisa Marie's story deserves to be told, honestly, fully, and without fear, subscribe now. Because the next chapter will reveal even more about the people who claim to protect her but may have been the ones who destroyed her.